We're inside AFC Championship week and full steam ahead towards that game against the Baltimore Ravens on Sunday afternoon. You're watching the Chiefs Report by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Jay Sanders, and we're going to talk about the depth chart the Chiefs will be putting out on Sunday facing the Baltimore Ravens because there's been some updates throughout the entirety of the year. We're going to give you all of that and kind of see what we're looking for on Sunday. Let's start with the obvious, the quarterback room. That is going to be no surprise to anybody. Patrick Mahomes obviously at QB1, Blaine Gabbert sitting at QB2, and then in emergency situation, Chris Oladukin, who is on the practice squad. We haven't seen him be activated, but I would assume given the situation, he will probably be the emergency QB. I don't know what the Chiefs would do if they got there, but let's just not worry about it. Mahomes has got this covered. And here's the big thing. Mahomes has now been to 6 straight AFC championship games in 6 seasons as a starter. We all know this, but let's just make sure and confirm this. Patrick Mahomes is the GOAT QB. Listen, I know Brady went to 8, but he didn't do it in his first 8 seasons, did he? Patrick Mahomes is 6th season in, 6 straight AFC championships. If you think Patrick Mahomes is the GOAT QB, is the greatest of all time, go down there, hit that like button. I want to see how many we can rank up because I know everybody agrees on this. So go down there. It takes 2 seconds. Hit that like button. I'd certainly appreciate it. Let's go to the running back room here with one guy being removed, obviously, since the last time we checked on this. Isiah Pacheco at RB1. No Jerick McKinnon, so Clyde Edwards-Helaire goes to RB2. And La'Mical Perine, who has now been active for 4 weeks, he sits at RB3. We have not seen much of him. I kind of like them to use him in specific packages, maybe just to throw off somebody, have a Pacheco and Perine package, put them both on either side, see what you could do with the defensive thing. But the big thing, I said it, no Jerick McKinnon. It's obviously been hard because he's kind of a versatile back where you can go out and receive, he can run it, but the bigger problem is not that you don't have Jerick McKinnon. The bigger problem is the way Isiah Pacheco has been used at times. We saw it in the Bills game. You want to see him get carries, especially in the goal line. You want to give Pacheco that ball. In fact, it kind of statistically makes sense to give him the dang ball. When he has 15 or more carries, the Chiefs are 9-2. When he has less than 15 carries, the Chiefs are 2-3. Listen, I know this doesn't exactly equate to wins. You're not just going to hand the ball off 15 times and boom, you win. But at the same time, this has to speak volumes to how important Isiah Pacheco is. Plus, we've seen the videos of him going up to that kid in the Bills game. He's just a lovable guy. I think he deserves more carries, especially in the goal line stand. Don't give it to Mecole Hardman on a jet sweep. Even if Pacheco's out, run the ball with Perine, run the ball with Clyde, and then put Pacheco back in there. Now the big one. Everybody talks about it. Everybody's been looking at it. It's been the talk of the year. The Chiefs' wide receiver depth chart. Here's how it stands. The rookie out of SMU. He's the wide receiver 1 officially, Rashee Rice. Kadarius Toney, who is injured at the moment, is still listed as wide receiver 2. MVS, who, by the way, had the highest PFF rank of any wide receiver in the divisional round. Yes, you heard that right. The best PFF rank of any wide receiver in the divisional round. MVS is wide receiver 3. Mecole Hardman, the fumble king, is at wide receiver 4. And then we got Justyn Watson, Richie James, and then Justin Ross. Ross is injured. And you don't see Sky Moore on here. Now, that isn't a saying that he won't be activated for this Sunday's game. We just don't have official word on it. And the depth chart that they have right now does not list him because he is technically still on that IR slot. Obviously, when you put him up, there's going to be moves made, things happening. We'll keep you updated on all of it. But I would not be surprised to see him activated given he was close to playing last week and the way the Chiefs have kind of gone about the season. If you're coming off IR, you have 1 week off, and then you're on. If that's the way we see it, Sky Moore may be active for this AFC Championship game and could be on the field. But do you want that? I asked this question last week when we realized he was going to be in that 21-day practice window. But now it's not the divisional round, it's the championship game. And do you want to put him out there? Let me know. Type Y for yes if you want to see Sky Moore play. Type in for no if you would say, hey, the offense is moving, it's grooving. No reason to add an extra dimension to this that when he was on the field, it didn't exactly work this way. So Y for yes if you want to see Sky Moore, in for no. Let's go to the tight end, which is another no surpriser here. Travis Kelce at tight end 1, Noah Gray at tight end 2, and then Blake Bell, who I will give credit to, has been a pretty good blocker throughout his time in this season. The one thing I want to say here with Noah Gray, overall, he has been such an underrated asset for the Chiefs to have this year. This guy has come onto the scene and ultimately played a lot of crucial ways, including in that first game when immediately coming off that injury for Travis Kelce, Noah Gray guess what? He had 3 receptions. He played well, and he's been used in a lot of positive ways. I would love to see him used in some different packages. And we've already seen him get receptions while Kelce is on the field. It's awesome because we talked about Noah Gray in the preseason. We talked about him when Travis Kelce was injured in that first game. The Chiefs love him, and they've used him properly this year. And Blake Bell, he's had his times here and there, but he's been great blocking. I think that's one thing. He's blocked for Mahomes on a couple runs. And overall, when you have those 2 tight end sets and you put Blake Bell out there, it kind of creates a confusion for the opposing defense. The last little bit of this offense goes on that trench mark with the offensive line. Donovan Smith at left tackle, Joe Toney, who right now is injured. We'll give that update right now here in a second. But Creed Humphrey at center, Trey Smith at right guard, Jawan Taylor at right tackle. Obviously, the backups, Lucas Niang, Nick Allegretti, Mike Caliendo, and Wanya Morris. Wanya Morris should be back this week from his concussion. Nick Allegretti, you see him listed as the backup for the center. He is also listed as the backup for Trey Smith, and he is projected to play if Joe Toney cannot go this Sunday. Now, if you missed it, you don't know why I'm talking about Joe Toney's injury. He was given a pectoral strain. Luckily, Ian Rappaport kind of told us a little more, saying that his status will be tracked throughout this week and it's still up in the air. But given it was just a pectoral strain, it is positive news for the ability or availability of him on Sunday. Do we know just yet what that means? No. Given it's a Tuesday right now, we're probably not going to have a full injury report till tomorrow. We'll see if we get information. But overall, tomorrow's where we're going to start to heat up, seeing what Joe Toney's availability is in practice and going from there. But this offensive line has been pretty impressive thus far. I'd love to see Toney out there. What's also impressive is my prize pick streaks, man. I've been doing really good on my prize picks as of late, and you can do the same thing. If you go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS, you're going to get a first deposit match of up to $100. Go put in these picks. I am 4 of my last 5 on prize picks. Roll with me. We got the more on Travis Kelce receiving yards. We got the more on Isiah Pacheco rushing yards. And then I know this one, it's not what we want, but it's what's going to happen. More on Lamar Jackson rushing yards. If you can't control Josh Allen, I don't see a way to control Lamar Jackson. Plus, this secondary is so good, Lamar is going to have to make plays other than just chucking it downfield. That's not going to work too well against the Kansas City Chiefs. Prize Picks is the easiest way to play daily fantasy sports. And here's the cool thing. It's super simple. You go in there, you choose 2 or more players. You can go 2 to 6. You then pick more or less on their prize picks projected stats. And then you choose flex or power play, depending on how confident you are in getting all only 5 picks, 4 picks, 6 picks, right? Whatever you want to do. I like to do a little 3-picker, 4-picker type. That's the one I'm doing right there. But you can go check it out again at prizepicks.com/CLNS and using code CLNS for that first deposit match of up to $100. PrizePicks also offers a reboot policy so that even if one of your players gets injured, your injury is going to stay in play. So for football games or basketball games, if you have a player who gets injured in the first half and then does not return the second, that player is rebooted. PrizePicks is the only daily fantasy sports platform with an injury insurance policy. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use that code CLNS for a first deposit match of up to $100. Code CLNS. We're going to put that in the comments and the description of the video. Let's look at this defensive line depth chart here for this Kansas City Chiefs squad. Mike Dana at defensive end, Chris Jones defensive tackle, Derek Nottie at the other defensive tackle, and George Karlaftis at the defensive end. One to note here, Derek Nottie has been injured. We don't know his status just yet, but you see on that depth chart, Charles Omenihu has been a really key guy on the edge. He may be transitioned to kind of play a multitude of roles this week, I would have to see. I've kind of been hesitant to say, but Neil Farrell Jr., we traded for him when Chris Jones was still in that holdout. Haven't seen him at all. I mean, good for him. Came from the Raiders, who can't literally win anything, to the Chiefs, and now he's in an AFC Championship game in his first year, so good for him. But FAU was also inactive. Felix Anudike-Uzomah, the rookie. I don't know how much we'll see of him. With Nottie out, though, it's probably going to be more of Jones at tackle, Dana at tackle, Omenihu at edge, and just kind of tell Dana, hey, and I know you're not the biggest guy, but we're going to try and get pressure that way, get a little more speed on that defensive line. And it's going to be important because these are the top 2 sack teams in the entire NFL. You have the Chiefs right below the Baltimore Ravens in the regular season, tallying up 57 sacks. Obviously, the only one ahead of them is the Baltimore Ravens, 60 sacks. So it's going to be very key to get pressure on the quarterback in both ways. Obviously, we know that Mahomes and Lamar are very good at escaping the pocket, buying time. Lamar can run it. Patrick can run it. So I think it's going to be interesting to see who can contain the quarterback the most, because that may be the key in this game. Let's go to the linebackers, which there was a little bit of a switch, but I do want to talk about it. Willie Gay Jr. over on the left side, Nick Bolton, the middle linebacker, and then the strong side, Leo Chenal, He is listed as the starter. Cam Jones, IR, his season is done. So you're down to just Drew Tranquill and Jack Cochran as the two backups. And Jace, or excuse me, you're probably saying, Jace, what are you saying? Drew Tranquill's been a starter all year. Yes, and he has been, but Leo Chenal is the true strong side linebacker. That's where he plays. Drew Tranquill was a middle linebacker. He was bought in here to come play backup for Nick Bolton, which was perfect because Bolton was injured for a lot of the season, to be quite honest with you. But the way he played in those games allowed for the Chiefs to kind of say, you know what? We're going to kind of mold this defense around having Tranquill as a strong side linebacker as well. They've allowed him to kind of play in those sets, and now you have Bolton and Tranquill out there. Chenal's been a great guy to come in. Obviously, Leo Chenal this past week had to play a decent amount with Willie Gay out, so they moved Tranquill to the left side, had the strong side with Mr. Leo Chenal. There's kind of a lot of things that can go around, but I will say this. This linebacker room is very, very versatile, and I like that. It's a good thing, especially when you're facing probably the other best linebacking group in the entire NFL on the other side with Roquan Smith, Patrick Queen. Those guys are going to be dogs, and they're going to blitz the entire game. I want you to grade this Chiefs linebacker depth chart, A, B, C, D, or F. What are you thinking about this? Do you think they have the best? Is it A? Is it B? Is it C? Is it D? I don't want to see any Fs. If you put F, I may have to delete your comment. I'm going to be quite honest. There's no way this is an F. This is an A or a B. At worst, it's a B plus to me. But get down there, A, B, C, D, or F. All right, the cornerbacks. Oh, the cornerbacks. L'Jarius, I'm telling you, this entire defense, every depth chart I look like, I just like, it's amazing. L'Jarius Sneed and Trent McDuffie, who have been absolutely exceptional this year. L'Jarius Sneed only allowing one touchdown in the entire season, and it allowed this past week to the Buffalo Bills. Trent McDuffie was the number 4 ranked PFF guy. And the thing is, you have Joshua Williams, you have Jalen Watson, who are also really, really good guys on the backups, and they've played some decent amount of time as well. I have to think this is one of the best cornerback rooms in the NFL, if not the best. And the reason I say this is because L'Jarius Sneed is the 3rd highest ranked PFF cornerback of this group. 3rd. He's a starter. There's just no other cornerback room that I can think, okay, you've played as well as they have. Because, like, the Texans have pretty highly ranked PFF guys. They're not in the playoffs anymore, and they also got screamed by Amari Cooper. There's been no receiver this year that has been able to do that against the Kansas City Chiefs. This cornerback room is amazing, and they're going to have to be amazing against guys like Zay Flowers, probably Mark Andrews in the slot, depending on what they do with him. And then on top of which, you got some speed still in Odell Beckham Jr. and Nelson Aguilar to deal with on the wideouts. Let's look at the safeties depth chart now, as this is kind of an important position, and I'll tell you why here in a minute as you see Justyn Reed, Mike Edwards, Shamari Connor, and Deon Bush. By the way, I want to shout out to Deon Bush here. He was amazing because he actually made the tackle on that Damar Hamlin fake punt. He read it perfectly and was the reason. I counted. There was 8 Bills and 6 Chiefs. 6 Chiefs won because of Deon Bush. He read it perfectly, got that side. But injuries have really hurt this safety room because you obviously have Brian Cook, who was not on that list. He was an amazing safety up until that Packers game where he suffered what looked to be a pretty gruesome injury, to be quite honest. There was hope that he could potentially come back in the playoffs, but that quickly diminished once we got to the Miami game. And you have Mike Edwards now, who's in concussion protocol. You did sign Trey Dean this past week, so you may see him activated off the practice squad or pulled up in an emergency-like situation. The good news is Shamari Connor, the rookie, been playing amazing. Virginia Tech guy, and ultimately he had the 3rd most tackles when he didn't play the entire game last week. I can trust Shamari Connor. Obviously, it's a little different situation because Stephon Diggs isn't exactly the greatest receiver, and the freaking Bills receivers besides that, Shakir is okay, Gabe Davis wasn't there. So this receiver group of Zay Flowers, you're going to have Nelson Aguilar, you're going to have Odell Beckham Jr. It's going to be a little hard to control, but I still like Shamari Connor. Then last but not least, look at the special teams depth chart here. No surprises. Butker at the kicker, Tommy Townsend the punter, James Winchester the long snapper, and then Richie James. Funny story, kick returner and punt returner. He was brought on here just to be the kick returner, but then you had Kadarius Toney, who was supposed to be the punt returner. He's been dealing with nagging injuries all season long. And then you brought Mecole Hardman, and then he got injured. And so Richie James just kind of took that over as well, and he's been, I'm going to say it, pretty decent. He's gotten some good returns, and I don't mind him in that slot. Obviously, he did have the one muffed punt back in week 2 against the Jaguars, or muff kick, excuse me. But since then, he's been really, really good, and obviously post the injury. But that's the updated depth chart. A lot of kind of moving parts with injuries on defense, and yet they're still one of, if not the best defense in the NFL, facing, if they're not the best, the best ahead of them in the Baltimore Ravens. So it'll be a clash of two defensive squads. And hey, we talked about it all year. Defense wins championships. Put your money where your mouth is. Who has the better defense this Sunday? We appreciate you watching. As always, Chiefs Kingdom. And we'll be live here around later today, so make sure you subscribe to come hang out with us later. Peace out, Chiefs Kingdom.